I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We are joined by Twilight Esme. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, I am Twilight Esme, the goddess of Twilight. You guys can call me just Esme. And nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. And when I saw the name Twilight Esme, it brought me back to my wife watching every one of the movies. And
oh my gosh, yes.
And having the audio book in the car and reading the book itself.
Yeah, that's the first place most people go.
Yes, yes.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yes. It's only causes a little bit of a muscle twitch by my eye, that's all.
Bringing back some memories for you, huh?
Oh, yes, yes. Driving in the car, listening to the book that I just saw the movie for over and over.
Yeah, it was definitely a pop culture icon.
Oh, very definitely. When did you get started with the VTubing thing?
Just recently, just this year in 2024. My very first stream was back in April. And I started off as a PNG tuber, so just a PNG picture.
Right.
Found out I love streaming,
Yeah.
and I kind of went all in.
Yeah. Well, it's obvious that you're enjoying yourself with it, and that's good. And you've been open with your chat. I've seen a few things on the YouTube that you've talked about some things, and you're a little more personal with some of the chat than some of the other VTubers.
I am. I honestly, I think that's a goal of mine. I know parasocial can be a bad word in a lot of circles. I think it can be a good thing. I want to share myself and my story with people, and I think being open is a part of that. So I definitely want to help people with their lives and their experiences, and the only way I know to do that is to share mine.
Well, that's brilliant. That's a wonderful way to go about things. And if we all went around life like that, we'd be a little better off. But then you got old cranky guys like me standing in the way.
No, not at all. And it's funny you say old cranky guy, because I'm an old cranky lady.
Well, maybe
I'm
you go ahead.
I'm definitely older than I would say most of my viewer base. And I think that's part of where sharing my stories comes in, is because I know most of my viewer base is younger than me. And I feel like, I don't know if oh darn, I should have had this ready to fire for you, but there is a storytelling YouTube channel that it basically records people's telling their personal stories, and I followed it for a very long time, and it helped me in some rough areas of my life. So I want to kind of do the same for people.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a great way to do things, and as long as you're not draining yourself out while you're doing it, and you're keeping an eye on what's going on for you, because some people have great expectations, but then they forget about taking care of themselves in the meantime.
Oh, of course. I will say, energy wise, I'm a little unique. I call myself a hermit because I pretty much am.
Yeah.
I work from home. My social circle is pretty tight knit. I have a D&D group, but outside of that, most of my social energy goes out into my streaming and my content creation. I'm in a position where I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that, to give that back to my community. And I know not everyone at all is able to do that. So I try to take advantage of it. I really do.
That's cool. I mean, I can understand that, and I can sympathize with it a little bit, with the getting out more with the internet than inside. It seems a little safer in some areas. Sometimes it's not, but it is a little bit safer. And the way you're explaining it, it sounds like this was the VTubing community, and what it does is become pretty vital to you.
I would say it has. I would say the personal connections I have made with both other creators and my community
Hmm.
have been amazing. I have gotten to know some pretty awesome people through this.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the biggest thing for me has been discovering my creative side in general.
Mm.
Um, like I said, I work from home. My job is purely technical.
Right.
Most of my life, everything I've done has been purely technical. I really haven't gotten to explore my creative side
Mm.
much at all. And even when I did, it was a task of trying to get over my perfectionist tendencies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so stuff like painting. I tried painting for the longest of times, but my that brain itch that said, nope, nope, you gotta keep tweaking, it's never right. It just something like that, a hobby like that never really worked for me. Streaming and content creation, I think because it's not, I'm not reliant on the income it makes
Hmm.
at all.
Right.
And I think because of that, I have pretty full free access to put out whatever I like
Yeah.
and hopes it resonates with someone out there, right?
Right.
I don't
Right.
have to be perfect. I can be far from it, and yet I can still, touch someone's life in some way.
Yeah. You can entertain them and maybe keep their mind off of whatever's going on in their world.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And yeah, I get what you're saying with the painting, because if you're going into something like that with a perfectionist mind, you're just going
Yeah.
to keep painting and painting and painting the same thing over and over and over again, and you're just going to have like 25 layers of paint.
Yep, then that is exactly what happened.
I was it
That is exactly what
oh, what was
happened.
there was a one show where somebody, it might have been Malcolm in the Middle, where somebody had an idea. They had to paint this huge. They were in their 40s, and they decided, I want to paint my masterpiece. They never painted before, and by the time it was done, it was just a big block of black, because they
Oh,
repainted it over and over and over again. Then they figured, okay, I'm done.
yeah.
Perfect black. Yeah, well, a lot of artists are perfectionists anyway, and they keep tweaking at things. But the so
Very true.
so as you grew up, you haven't been really somebody who got a chance to, get up on stage, or did you get the chance and just were a little scared to do so?
I would say a little bit of both.
Mm.
I along with most of my adult life being very much based on performance and technical aspects. As a kid, I was very focused on the whole, get the good grades. I
Yeah,
was very much the book kid,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I think I didn't, number one, I was probably scared. I was probably scared to put myself out there in front of people. But number two, because of that, I didn't explore opportunities to.
mm, yeah,
Because, some of that stuff you have to initiate yourself, put yourself out there first as a very first step. And I didn't really do that. I figured, you know what, as long as I get my A's, as
yeah.
long as I'm performing best as a student, that was what my job was, and that was fine.
So,
Uh,
I mean, if I'm hitting too close to home, you let me know on this. But were you one of those kids that tested really well early on?
oh yes,
Mm,
yep, I definitely was.
yeah, that was when I grew up. That was a triple-edged sword. That was.
Yep.
You you kind of get separated from the herd very early, and it's very tough. Well, it was for me anyway. Very tough to socialize at that point, especially if your first year and a half is spent in a room with people asking you questions.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you
I'm glad you understand it because it was very much that.
yeah.
I tested well starting in elementary school, and you know that's when they start putting you in
Mhm.
the quote unquote advanced classes, right?
Yeah, yeah. We'll try to anyway.
Um, yeah.
I managed to fight
And
my
then
way
by
back
high
out of them.
school, they put me in was it international baccalaureate program,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Yeah, and unfortunately for me, in order to attend that program, we had to move.
Mm,
So I kind of lost the social connections that I had in middle school. And when I started high school, was thrown into this atmosphere of complete competition.
oh no.
When you have a program like that, everyone is competing against each other for the best scores, the best recommendations from the teachers to get into
Right,
the best colleges. You know,
right.
everyone's thinking, you know, 4, 6 years ahead of themselves. No one's thinking, yeah, let's make a best friend in freshman year.
No. No, they might be thinking of
Which is what
let's
I was hoping for, but that's not the type of program
they might
that
be
is, you
thinking
know.
let me find a stepping stone to step on to the next level. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
The pressure on you must have been intense.
It was. And I think I've told my community this, because of that intense pressure, I ended up secluding myself to the point where um, I was just doing the tests, you know, in class. Outside of class, I was secluding myself in the library every day.
Mm,
And it got to a point where in my second year of high school, they finally got together. All my teachers got together and realized, hey, she's not coming to class.
mm,
We have her on the grade books and she's
yeah.
doing fine, but we don't see her. And that's why when we had conversation and it was decided, you know, this environment wasn't best for me, and I ended up moving schools at that point because it clearly was not working out for me.
Yeah. Yeah. When you moved, did it help out a little bit socially, and were you starting to be able to start interacting with people, or did it go
Oh,
into a worse situation?
um, it helped out a little bit. I think at that point I was already, because of my experiences, a little bit mistrustful,
Mm,
right?
right.
You're second guessing everyone's intentions at that point. So I was honestly I was stepping on my own feet a lot
Mm,
in people who were even approaching me for social connections. So
yeah. Yeah. That's really tough. I mean, I don't think I've said this before in the interviews, but when I was a very tiny person, back in the 1800s, um, when I went to kindergarten, I could read a little bit.
mm,
That was a lot different in 1970 than it is today.
mm,
Today, when you go to kindergarten, you have to have three languages. Um,
right.
Back then, if you knew how to read, you were ahead of the class. Um, and a lot of my kindergarten years and a little bit of first grade was spent in that room with a stopwatch and a woman giving me questions.
Hmm.
So there wasn't any, this is the time when you're out of house and you get to meet all the other kids and, you know, talk with them. I didn't get that chance. And,
Yeah.
and I can actually empathize with that a little bit. Now I managed to, to fail being that good a student. I didn't have obviously the work drive that you did, and had to refine it later back in high school. But it seems to me that you had at least with this you have a work drive that would keep you up with it. You were proud enough to keep that shield in front of you.
Yeah, I very much did have that. And it kind of, it, unfortunately, it transferred into adult life,
Mm,
where instead of, you know, making young person social connections when you're out on your own,
right.
it was let's focus entirely on improving our career, right?
Yeah.
Climbing that ladder.
Yeah. 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 I lucked out with that one too because I just went into radio and that's about it. And then I was done.
The only path I saw for me was the standard, corporate business, working your way up,
Mm,
unfortunately.
wow.
And I didn't learn better until, I was much older. But that's okay. Everyone's life path is different, and I'm thankful to have the experiences I have had. It makes me, it gives me the perspective on where I am today versus where I was, and
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for that.
And now you do miss out on some things,
Mhm.
and some things that I'm sure that you chomp at the bit saying, why did I miss out on that now? And I can tell you folks, that's going to happen no matter where you're at. No matter what you do, there's always
Yep,
going to be something. It doesn't get easier
exactly.
when you get older. Um,
Yes, exactly.
but now you get a chance to start and do some things from a different perspective.
Mhm.
A little bit older, a little bit wiser. Maybe you can avoid some of the pitfalls of some of these things while still getting to enjoy them later in life.
That is definitely the hope. That is definitely the hope.
Mm. Well, I hope so for you too, because that's um that's a tough way to go. It really is, and it just tells me that you're pretty tough because you made it through, and now you've blossomed on the internet where you weren't able to before.
That is very aptly put. And those closest to me kind of reference that fact as well. I, in addition to streaming, I recently learned that I love tattoos. I
Mm,
got my first one about a year and a half ago, and
mm,
I've gotten more since.
yeah.
And I've reached out to family, and I have asked them, what do you think would represent me? And some of the feedback I've gotten is the phoenix
Mm,
because they've seen me blossom so much over the past few years. They just think it would be spot on.
yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Now, here's another question for you. With the way that you've kind of been allowed and able to and worked out of of for lack of a better term a shell and and started to um, be able to become more yourself on your terms. How has the family reacted? I mean, they look at you now and say, "I didn't even know you had that in you."
Yeah.
Eh,
That's pretty much exactly how it is. They're I would say the biggest reaction is they're very happy for me.
mm,
They're very happy for me. Because they really haven't seen this level of openness and outgoingness in me before.
mm,
And they can definitely see that it comes with happiness,
mm,
right? This isn't something I'm forcing myself to do. It
right.
isn't something I'm, just sludging through, checking things off the list. It's something I truly enjoy, and they can really see that, and they're very happy for me.
Yeah. By the way, you can hear when you're smiling. Um,
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you.
yes, yes. That's always great for me because it tells me that you're talking about something that you're happy with and you're proud of, and you should be. I
Yeah.
mean, you're getting a chance now to. I mean, I'm not going to throw out the old cliche second childhood, but this is the first time you get to be you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
and
It
and
is.
and thankfully, we have this medium where you can do this because 20 years ago, what would you have done? You'd be,
Oh, I don't even know. Oh my goodness.
you'd be
Oh
slogging
my goodness.
around and
Yeah, I am so thankful for the technology to be able to do this. It's I've referenced this so many times. It's like I'm playing dress up Barbies with myself. It's so fun.
you you
It's so fun.
you did a video recently about thankfulness, and
Yes.
it's
Yes.
on the YouTube channel. Folks, we're going to have all of the links for the descriptions in the descriptions for this interview. And and what brought you to make that video? Because it's a standalone type of thing. Why did you do that one?
Yes. I I think it was the time of the year and seeing how my community was feeling. A lot of people had family around them, family events that was happening.
Mm,
Um, and it, I guess they were feeling a lot like I used to feel. Um, I, I used to feel like it was hard to be thankful,
mm,
that I wasn't measuring up. And because of that, I wasn't supposed to be thankful.
mm,
And I wanted to put something out there to say, you're not alone.
mm.
That happens with other people. It's common. If it happened with me, I can assure you it's happened with 1,000 other people at
Yeah,
the very least.
yeah,
And here's what I did to kind of move past that feeling to a place to be in a place where I can be thankful for what I have, for where I've been, and for where I am now.
excellent, excellent. Now, with the pressures that you've had growing up to this point, how much of it were other people pressuring you, and how much it was the pressure you put on yourself?
Oh, I would have to say probably 80% pressure from myself coming internally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not to get dive too deep off the topic, but I'm an adoptee.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and something that comes with that with a lot of people who are adopted out is this innate feeling of not being worth it in general.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, I had a very, very internal drive to prove myself, to prove that I was worth it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a school age kid, the thing that's right in front of you to do that is school and
Mm,
academics.
yeah. Yeah. Unless you can run very very fast.
Yeah, and I was not an athlete. I tried, but that is my coordination is horrible. That is not my forte.
Well, at least you found out early.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely fascinating for me to hear this, and then I feel a weird sense of pride for you that you've been able to do this. That's okay, uh,
That is perfectly fine.
because you've really fought your way through a lot of stuff and everything. A lot of things that were inside, you've been able to crack through, and you're still doing it. Obviously, you're
Yeah,
still opening those wings. How big are those phoenix wings going to get?
exactly. I look forward to the day to seeing where, I have reached my peak. I don't think that's going to be for a very, very, very long time.
That's good.
But it will be nice to look back and see how far I've come.
Well, you've come a long way.
I
You-
have. I have. Oh, I can't tell you how proud of myself I am for where I am now compared to just, 5 years ago, right?
yeah, yeah.
Let
It,
alone 10, 15, 20.
this is great. This is a great story, folks. Yeah, I haven't even asked you about the channel yet.
Oh,
but that tells you a lot about the person behind it, and that usually tells you a lot about what you want to do with the channel and what you're and why, which is the big thing here. And
mhm.
with the channel right now, what are you doing? What you want to do with it, or are there other things you'd like to try?
I am working towards what I want to do with it. I want to continue streaming,
Hmm.
live streaming, so I can honestly meet new people all the time.
Hmm.
That has been wonderful. I want to continue putting out little shorts, little clips of laughs, essentially what they are,
Hmm.
just something to make you laugh.
Yeah.
And then I've just dipped my toe into the long form where I really want to get more personal, give some life advice to people.
Mhm.
So I'm work I have done so much in the 8 months
Yeah.
since I've
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're everywhere. You're everywhere.
I am.
Well, except for one
It's
place, but every other place.
right. I will say that I am where I want to be right
Mhm.
now. I don't want to burn myself out. That is something I'm very cognizant of.
Yeah.
With my history, I definitely know that is one of my tendencies. So I have been very careful not to overreach, because this is something I enjoy. I don't want it to be something that I'm ever burdened with,
Hmm.
something that I wake up and I, have anxiety over. God,
Right.
I never want to turn this into that.
No, no, no,
This
no.
is my joy. I am very, very careful about not over extending myself with this.
Good. Because it sounds to me like it's a big part of your life, whether you want to admit it or not.
It
It's
is. It
it
is.
and
Yeah.
given where you're at right now, I mean, you're not getting out of the house very much. You're working from home. Um, the word escape is an absolutely perfect way to put it.
It you know, I wouldn't use escape myself
Hmm.
because before I started streaming, I did try the classic, let's go out and meet people, right?
Right.
In my case, I had recently just moved many, many states away into an area where I knew no one. So my very first goal was trying to get out there to meet people. Um, and in my case, that meant joining some women's groups on Facebook
Hmm.
that for the local area, and it was wonderful. It was amazing. We had brunches, we had bingo events, we had drag show events, we had concerts, we had that's where I met my D&D group.
Yeah, that's
So I
cool.
think for the first about year and a half after I moved, that was my go-to
Mm.
for most of my time off of work. That is what I did. I went to all these events, met new people, had fun. Oh, it was so fun.
Mm.
Um, but at the end of the day, it didn't, I guess it didn't scratch that itch. Nothing really stuck with me that I wanted to do, you know, multiple times a week, let
Right,
alone every other week,
right. Yeah,
I didn't, outside of the D&D group that we formed, there wasn't really, someone I would want to go to lunch with,
right,
every week.
right.
So I met great people. I had a lot of fun, but it just wasn't for me, I would
Mm.
say.
Yeah.
And this I had found is kind of right up my alley.
It was made for you.
It really was. It really was.
If it didn't exist, we'd have to make it for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's wonderful again that you've got this opportunity, and we've got the opportunity to see what you got. Otherwise, I mean, you obviously have a big heart because
Thank you.
I mean, you're trying to help people while you're trying to help yourself, and it's very easy to just be selfish and simply just want to help yourself. And you saw
Yeah.
that in school. You saw other people doing that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And you steadied yourself. I'm not doing that, and come through, and that makes you one of the jewels out there. So we're gonna keep an eye on you. Make sure.
Thank you for that.
No pressure. No pressure though.
No pressure at all. Don't
No,
worry. Don't worry.
no. You've had plenty of that. So when I tune into one of your streams, what am I gonna watch?
Um, it depends on the day. Right now, I am pushing myself to reach out and collab more with people.
Hmm.
That is my goal for December is to do more collabs
Yeah.
because I find that it's very easy for me to chat up with my community.
Hmm.
It's I'm a little awkward when it comes to reaching out to other content creators.
Mm.
And I think that's because this is kind of it's a hobby for me, but I know very well that for others it is not. And it's at least for me it's hard to kind of walk that line between being professional and wanting to jump in full into the deep end and go
Right.
like, "Oh, this is fun. Let's just do it." Without considering anything else. Let's just do it,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Between overanalyzing and then not analyzing at all.
Yes, yes. Very much so. It's
On and off.
like I said, it's a hobby for me, so
Yeah.
I have no qualms about jumping on a phone call and playing a game with, any random person, but I
Yeah.
know that is not the way to operate for a lot of people. So
Yeah, you tend to tend to jump into some swamps when you do that.
yes, yes.
But
Very apt, very aptly
yeah,
said.
but you're not alone. There's so many folks here on, and I've interviewed a lot of people now, and got to talk to a lot of folks online that um, that you could find someone, a few people, a group to enjoy with, and be able to enjoy their company for a long, long time, and they enjoy yours. Um,
Yeah.
it's right there for you. And for those of us who grew up in the '80s, we didn't have that sort of thing. I mean, we had the arcades. We went to arcades, is what we did,
Right, right.
and spent money and met people there. But that certainly didn't open up the type of things we had here. And you've come into this right-headed, um, and with your eyes open and embraced it, uh, which a lot of people aren't able to do. They come in and kind of tiptoe at it, and or come in from different ways. So I mean that's pretty unique, and I'm glad that you're going to be able to share that perspective with people.
As am I. My number one rule here is to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
That is the number one rule for me. Don't make it tedious. Don't make it a chore. Don't do something because you feel like you have to.
Yeah, yeah,
It should be natural. It should be fun.
yeah. So what is natural and fun for you? Are you playing? What type of games are you playing?
Oh, okay. So I I'm not it's, it's silly. It's silly, but prior to this streaming journey, I had fallen out of the way with games for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I had dabbled a little, here and there, but not really consistently, right?
Right.
So I'm kind of rediscovering what games I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I do have my regulars, so to
Yeah.
say. I have Elden Ring,
Uh-huh.
and then I also have the Yakuza series,
Oh yeah.
which my community recommended. I would have never picked that out myself,
Yeah.
but they recommended it for me, and I absolutely love the entire series so
Cool.
far.
Excellent.
Um, and then I'm also working my way through God of War. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
love that the storytelling in that,
Mm-hmm.
and the dynamics between father and son.
Yeah.
Great, great game. Great game.
Yeah, that's excellent, and it's great that the chat um, uh, kind of found something for you too. I mean, usually they could say, "Well,
Yes.
try this, or this," but it sounds like they figured this out that you would enjoy it before even showing it to you.
Exactly, exactly. I always say I'm up to trying something at least, once or a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
because I never know if I'm gonna like it or not,
Yeah,
and you never know until you try.
yeah.
So
Except for Brussels sprouts, I don't. I'm not going to try them again. I'm old enough now to veto them.
that's valid. That's valid.
My grandson likes Brussels sprouts. He can have them.
Yeah, yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Um, so, where do you want to be with the channel by the time you're more established? Have you got some other goals set in mind?
So you actually come at the perfect time with this question.
Yay!
Yeah. I will say, when I first started this, I looked at it and said, there is absolutely no way, in no world, could I pursue this or would I pursue this as a full-time opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, my world is kind of opening up bit by bit.
Right.
And I think maybe if in a couple of years I'm still doing this and I still love it,
Yeah.
that would be my goal,
Hmm.
is to pursue this as a full-time opportunity.
Cool.
I think right now I'm too new. It's not even been a year for me. I'm still in the honeymoon phase, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but if I'm still feeling this way in, 2, 3 years, that honestly would be my goal.
Cool. Excellent. For you described and talked about how you've come from there to here. To have an audience in a chat that is coming back for you, this you that you've opened up to and shown people that you weren't able to do before. How is that validating for you? How does that feel?
Incredibly validating.
Well,
Like I mentioned, I'm an adoptee, so I have this innate sense of it's something I've been working on my whole life, is to get around that, or not so much ignore that feeling, but recognize that it's not in its it's not true in all cases, right? So having audience members come back, day after day, and say they enjoy me, my content, my presence alone, that is incredibly validating for me.
well, it's been incredible to talk with you. It really has. I'm very glad that you accepted the invitation and come on.
I'm glad you put it out there.
And,
You've been amazing.
well, I don't know about that, but it's been fun, and
It has.
being able to talk with folks who have gone through some things and found their light a little bit later and are embracing it is always good, because that shows people that you keep going forward, and eventually that light will show up.
Yes.
And it sounds like to me
I wholeheartedly agree.
Sounds like it's beaming pretty good for you right now.
It is, and I'm elder millennial, I like to say. But my generation is part of that generation where we didn't think we'd make it to 30.
Yeah.
And there were so many things in the way of our vision of the future, and here I am on the other side of that hump, thinking, oh my goodness, there are so many pathways forward of ways to enjoy life.
Yes.
Kids, I hope I can show you some of this.
You're saying that to me, and I'm like, 70 years older than you. You kids. I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to have all the links we've been able to find for Esme on the description for the video. And I really, really hope you come back soon and we talk some more. Fascinating person you are. And we're going to keep an eye on you.
Would love it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.